All right, hello again, everybody. So, I fucked up. I was looking at my old set lists and my old album track listings and just going through all my old lyrics, and I realized there was only two songs that I was skipping on chronological time. The third song that I had in question, I actually did end up writing shortly after we finished doing our album. So, that being said, we are finally on the last song of the album. So after this video, I'm debating on, I kind of want to wait. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I may wait on it, is what I'm saying. But at least we finally have the last song, the closer of our album, which we'll get into all that. So here we go. We're finally finishing the album. This is I Don't Want to Talk About It.
You say you don't understand it when I say that I can't stay the night. Don't you worry, baby, you'll get it someday. How can I resist this feeling that you give me? I don't want to take it away, babe, so don't you make me. Every now and then you got to stop and think about it. When you keep on asking, it's all I can say just to say, babe, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to think about it anymore. The sunrise comes and goes, but your eyes keep that glow. I don't want to take it away, babe, so don't you make me. I thought we had moved on past this. Thought I was off the hook now. The way you keep on going about it, well, baby, it's bullshit. Every now and then you got to stop and think about it. But when you keep on asking, it's all I can do just to say, babe, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to think about it anymore. Oh, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Oh no, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to think about it anymore. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Anymore.
Okay, so I fucked up on the lyrics, but I'm gonna keep this take anyway because I don't know. I don't want to redo this song again. I felt it had just a good enough energy where I can get away with fucking up the lyrics. You guys will hear it when I link the album version. So, I do want to talk about this song. This was one of the few songs where everyone would get songwriting credit. Both Tony and Ethan helped me write the song, and yeah, let's get into it. So, for those musically inclined, sharp-eared people, you probably realize that this is the exact same progression as Tease to Please. So this is what I would play instead of Tease to Please as our PG-13 song. Didn't happen often, but occasionally we would do it. We would sub out Tease to Please. We would do the song instead. But yeah, so let's get to writing about it. So I don't know who I overheard this from, but I remember I heard some people getting into an argument. And it was basically kind of the premise of this whole thing. You know, it was a couple just getting into an argument about something stupid. And I just remember the person was like, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to fucking talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. And that's like kind of stood in my head. And I was just like, you know, like when you got to keep repeating, then it's like, you know, it's like, I don't want to fucking talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to think about it anymore. I don't want it. And I just thought that could really work. This is one of the few songs where I don't really remember the process of writing it before I showed it to the band. So I know I came up with that chord progression, and I remember starting with the chorus. Don't want to talk about it, don't want to hear about it, don't want to think about it anymore. And this is kind of like Losing, Boozing, Bluesin', where I would kind of shift and change the lines each chorus. I don't know if I did that this time around. I think I may have just stuck with hear, think, talk, and I think that's it. But I definitely knew, like, right off the bat. I remember I was listening to a John Mayer song, Perfectly Lonely. I was listening to Perfectly Lonely. So that's where the key came from, because I was the song is in C. So I remember I was messing around doing some stuff, and I really liked. And then just went into C. So I didn't think it was a Tease to Please thing until my bassist actually brought it up when I showed it to them. He's just like, oh, so we're just doing Tease to Please again. And I'm like, fuck you. Yes, we are doing Tease to Please again. So I don't remember how much of the lyrics I had done. I think it was part of the first verse and all of the chorus. So I didn't have a second verse. And this is where Ethan and Tony came in. So I brought the song in. This was right after we decided we are going to record an album, and we were thinking about what songs we were going to add on it. So the reason why I don't want to talk about it is at the end is not really because it's an album closer, but because it wasn't originally going to be on the album, and it was the last song that we wrote to put on the album. So I brought it to them. We already established we were going to do an album, so we were kind of talking about stuff, and they helped me write the second verse. And we tightened up. Every now and then you got to stop and think about it. When you keep on asking, that's all I can do just to say. That was a combination effort between Tony and Ethan. So about half of the song was not written by me. This is probably the only time. There were bits and pieces that the others contributed, but this is the only time where they got almost a half. So we all got a third, basically, you know, if we're going to divvy this up. We each had a third of writing this song. But yeah, this was actually a fun one, and I do enjoy playing this, and I liked singing it a lot. And even now, that's why I think I'm going to keep the take, because I think it was probably a good rendition for the most part. We'll see. If you're watching this video, then that means I decided to keep it. So yeah, we used to play this one acoustically a lot, because this one fit better than doing Tease to Please. And I remember our audience reception was kind of just meh. Nothing great, nothing bad. So this was kind of a mid song. which I'm okay with because, not every song you're going to have is a banger. And, a lot of people are of the mindset when you're structuring a set list or an album, like have all your bangers in the front, all your bangers in the back. And yes and no, it really depends on what's your vibe. What are you kind of feeling is the story and your narrative flow. But in this case, it really was kind of just thrown in at the last second. So I kind of do see why it never got too good. And it honestly, I think about it now, we probably could have restructured our set list a little bit, or I'm sorry, our album list a little bit, because I feel like when people got to this song, it wasn't really the best song to end with. And I do remember live, I think we only ended with the song once or twice. I feel like I kept trying to push it to be an end song, but we as a group never agreed that it was a good one. Actually, Encore. This was our encore song, now that I remember correctly. That's why. We used this as an encore song where it was just like, okay, you guys still want to hear something, but we don't really have anything else new to do. Let's just do this. That's why it was at the end a lot. Because it was our impromptu encore song. Wow, I can't believe you just suddenly remember these things when you start talking about these songs. So, album analytics. This was our last song, so this kind of had our lowest plays. If you went through the entire album in one play, you probably listened to it, but if you were just picking in pieces, you might not have gotten to the song. And at the end of the day, that's okay. I like doing the song acoustically. I think it's okay, especially when I do the proper lyrics that I'm supposed to do for it, which you guys will hear in the album version. I think it's a good energetic song, and it's just something that we all relate to. It's like, when you get into a fucking argument over the dumbest shit, you're just like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. And I just really like that line. So analytics, it wasn't that good. Live feedback, it was just meh. And that's the story of how the song came to be. So I guess why did we put it on the album? We can tackle that. So I think this is maybe a day or a practice before we had established, all right, so we're going to do an EP. So we're going to do 6 to 7 songs, no more than 7. And we were already choosing the list. And I remember we spent half of our practice writing the lyrics for this song. And then we didn't really practice. It was more of, hey, let's figure out what we're going to do for our album. And also I have this song. And that's kind of what we ended up doing, was just working on our album set list and our song. So when they were talking about, all right, so we got to have Gots to Get. And we got to do Trouble, and we got to do another song that I'm going to play, which wasn't finished, which is why I thought I had a third song. So there's some validity. I thought this song was going to be finished, but we had 0 lyrics. This was a jam song that we were still working on. So that's why. That's why I thought this song was written before. I don't want to talk about it, but I was wrong. Unless my bassist or my drummer reach out to me and say, no, you were right, and now we fucked up the canonicity of everything. But as it stands now, the song was being worked on. There were no lyrics. Nothing was concrete. That's why this is the actual last song of the album. Or the chronologically correct order of the songs. So I was like, well, Gots to Get is going to be our main thing for our next album. Gots to Get is going to be our album opener. Trouble would be our follow. And then the next song we were going to do, which is the one that I thought we were talking about, called Darkest Day. I thought that one was going to be kind of later on, but it just didn't really pan out. I've already explained a couple of times about how I wanted my best material to kind of be hidden in reserve, so that way when a label starts looking at us, it's like, oh, well, we have some more stuff that we can do. It's about maintaining your interest and your investment. We want you to get a return on it. So we used to play Gots to Get, Trouble, Sucker for Sex, which was another song. This is the first song that is going to be on our next album, which is why it's not in this chronological order. That song was done, but we intentionally decided that this was going to be a later song. So we learned it and then didn't really go over it again until after this album session, which is why that song, chronologically speaking, is not coming in until after our album is done. That's going to be the first song we do after our album, Sucker for Sex. So since I already knew, okay, this is what I want our EP to be, We have our second album locked and loaded, ready to go, or our first album, depending on how I was looking at it at the time period, but reflectively. So we have 4 songs to already put onto our next album. So this is set. Let's get this out here. And then we were like, all right, well, what about the song we're working on? What about I Don't Want to Talk About It? And I'm like, shit. I would put this on my second album. And they were like, okay, let's put this on our second album. So then we recorded our album about a week later. And when we were doing stuff, someone brought up, I don't know if it was me, I don't know if it was my drummer or my bassist, but someone brought up like, hey, do you want to do I Don't Want to Talk About It? And I'm like, yeah, we can get a recording of it. And then after we did it, I was like, let's just throw it on there. Like, let's have that. And Someday was going to be originally on that album. But if you remember what I was talking about when I recorded the video for Someday, I thought that song was just substantially better than it really was. And I was like, no, this has got to be on my first album. This is such a iconic early era Blue Jay and the Robin song that we have to have this on there. And we took off Someday. I don't even think we finished the recording for it. I know we did a recording. We did 2 impromptu recordings, but I don't think we actually did a real band recording of it. And we decided that let's just sub on I Don't Want to Talk About It instead. We could save Someday. And that's all she wrote. So looking back, this song is more reflective of the better era. Okay, we've been together for a little while. We've been performing, doing shows. We're making some money, and we're actually getting out there. And I think I should have put this song in with the second album. It would have been a better fit. I think this song is kind of jarring in a lot of ways in my first album because everything is very blues orientated. Then this is kind of poppy, and it's better too. It's better and it's worse. It doesn't really suit the album, but it is a bit more polished of a song, and it's reserved to the end, so you feel it would be a really good bombastic way to start things. It's not, So it's like, I don't know. It was a mistake. I know that. I like the song, and I would still perform the song, and I have performed the song in recent years. Now I think about it. That was one of the few ones where I'd kind of just pick up and do something. But when it comes to the album, that was not a good idea. We should have kept this as the second album. We should have put Someday on instead. And that is a little bit of a tidbit of what I'm going to do for my album review. Couple of changes that I could have made. I Don't Want to Talk About It should have been on our second album. And Someday should have been the original ending that we wanted it to be. But we didn't. So I think that covers it. I wish I could go more into detail about the songwriting process, but unfortunately I don't remember much of it. And I do know that my bassist and my drummer, we all worked together and we all came up with the lyrics. So that was nice. It was a good, unique experience that I wish we did more of. Album Analytics, it was the last song, so it never really got that much played. It never really got that much good reception, both live and when, from Album Analytics. And then the whole reason why I was on the album, like it kind of shouldn't have been. And I think that's more reflective now as I look back on it. So it's a mid song that could have been more had I just thought a bit more and, had a brain. But I didn't. So that is the final song of my album. We are back on chronological track. So I'm probably going to do an album review shortly. I'm going to see if I can get a hold of my cameras, and I want to do an actual listen to my album while I give feedback. That's why I don't want to just do it off my phone like I've been, because I want to actually edit the piece and kind of have bits and pieces of the album playing, so that way everything that we've talked about so far, or everything that you guys have listened, is relevant to it. So, of course, now the sun's coming out and it's like blaring. Is the camera going to adjust? No, I'm just all washed out. Wait. And now I'm overshadowed, so you got to love it. Okay, so we are finally done. The album review will be coming, and then we will start back on the track of chronological order, and we won't have to worry about an album kind of covering everything, because from now on, everything is all freelance. So stick around. The album review will be coming in a little bit. I may do 1 or 2 videos before we get to that album review. Don't feel confused. I'll make sure to tell everyone and tag everything and get it all nice and cleaned up. So appreciate it. Take care, everybody.